Goldman Sachs up here at the top. You can take a look at the movements. Now, we undercut that teeny low over here. So basically, let's try to get it all in the video for you because our application, this is the SMF application here. Let me pull up and see what's under the hood here. Goldman Sachs is an entry down here. We have made the qualifier here. I'm going to open up the brain though, and I'm going to move that over just so you can see a little bit of what we need to see. Well, here, we want to make sure everyone can see it. So our bid and ask ratio has to go in the right direction for this price to go higher. That's this one right here. In order for your intraday trend ratio, which is pegged to the price, it has to work the right way. And we had 10.16s. That was a $1.13 movement. And we had an intraday trend ratio peak of 99. Look at that. And 15. Basically what we're going to do is that top was put in and it broke down in the system and it would tell you to short right up in here because it would. And not only that, everything else in the intraday range, when it broke below, it was at 100 up here. And when it started to go down in value, like it tells you in that thing right there, it was at 99. So somewhere else, it would be lower than 99. The price goes down in value because that's exactly what happens. Let me show you. Intraday range here on one of these dots were a certain price. Percent range was 84. Up here is where the short happened because we were up here at 100 in our system. So basically we're putting the bottom in now, so if you were short and you're trying to buy the bottom, you felled half of the bar here. We haven't taken an entry yet, but we're going to see if we hold this teeny line before we actually make our entry. And the key is that you can get double teeny action support or hold above half the bar over here on the info panel. Here, let's see what the info panel has to say. Let's pull this up a little bit higher. And let's click on half of that bar. Half of that bar is 146.74. So basically, let's get this in the chart. And we can see that it has to hold that price. If it doesn't hold that price, and this here doesn't start staying above 5, running toward 10 and 15 and 20, you're not going to make price action. If we hold above there, we can put that very bottom in. We'll watch the intraday range process work itself at the teeny bid and ask line. Here's what happened here. We have not taken an entry yet. We have not taken an entry because we broke that teeny line to a lower teeny line. And each one of these lines are 11 pennies in our system. So basically, when this finally does firm up down here, above 5 going toward 15, one of the lines will get price action, will get built right in it. That's the key. That's got to go higher. And so does the ratio. This mathematically has to go higher related to the price in your system, in your info panel. You have all your voice alerts. You have all of your text alerts. And you know how prices will be put in. When they're down between 0 and 5, at a certain point, you got to get above. You won't hold price if you go to 0. If it stays on 0, you can't have that. That means you go lower. What it means, you got to bounce above 5 off of that line, that teeny line. Okay? And this is a Goldman Sachs trade. See, it says right up here, SMF MMT Trader GS 3 minute. We'll update people again on how prices get made at the bottom of our system. Back to the Goldman trade, what people have to understand is that within the actual MMT platform is that when you're at a specific number like 0, 0 has to bounce to 5 to qualify for the bottom. And that's the biggest part. Until that happens, we have not hit our teeny action yet. We will, though, when that happens, and that's when the MMTs will move. And we will go higher, and we will walk that dog sometime today. Right now, the time is 8:09 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay? So, therefore, we know exactly where we're at on a Monday morning. We know that the lower that this stays, the weaker that the teeny support is, and it's going to go through it. And as I said, half bar, this has been a short on shorts all day. Breaking teeny line, close it below half bar, going down, breaking teeny action, half bar, breaking teeny action. Then it finally got down here where it got made, took out half of the bar, and you had a 3, 6, 9, 12 to the peak. Right up here, you peaked in your range at 61. And the minute that you close below half of that bar, right here is where this short started to work. And you started going below half of the bars all the way down. But when you bounced up, you could not close above half of that bar. So therefore, all that was a short-term 3-6 dead cat bounce into resistance and another rollover, and we stay weaker right there. Until we change around in the system is that the bottom has to qualify. Once again, it can't stay on 0. It's got to go immediately from 0 to 5, and then it has to work higher. That's when you know you're going to set up for a breakout for like one of these right here or whatever kind of breakout. But Goldman Sachs will get made on price. And then once that price and all the sellers are out of the way, of course, the market maker is going to walk it that way. So there's profit 1, profit 2, and profit 3 and 4 within the actual price movement action in the MMT platform. And that's how you're getting paid. Once here, twice there, 3 times there. You got paid 4 times already. But if you had other things along with it, if you had the options working during the trends, well, then you would have even been paid more. So it just depends on, you know, as you go through the 52-week pro trading school, you're trading live capital every day. As you don't wait, you learn how to paper trade with the system, yes, and then you're in your year of training. But you're making prices like this. Why? This is how you're being trained live. Like right now, live. And what's going on? And this got to go above 5. It's got to run up toward 10. That's how these prices get made down at the bottom. All the diamonds are alerts. So we can blow up the chart for Ken Flagg, who we're dedicating this entry to, MMT Rick Goley. I'm going to put up this much so I can clearly see this price action here and now. I can also see the Goldman Sachs print. But once again, everyone, I'm still having a hard time building above 5. I just can't. I've got to bounce. Once I bounce above 5 and I go higher, then I'm going to break out, and I got to take out half of this bar on the upside right here. So let's take a look at that price, Mr. Flagg, and let's make sure that we understand where half of that bar is. So basically what we're going to do, and here's the right thing to do, is we're going to let the system tell us what that is. And that bar, what I'm seeing is 146.73. So I've got to break north of that bar in our platform, in our system. And if I do that, then that means that this is going to break up toward 15 and then 20 and 25. But down at the bottom, when a bottom is made down here, you need to tick higher above 5 at these bottoms. So you want to start seeing counts of 5 and higher for a longer period of time, and then you want that number to go up in value, and you will break higher in value with your entry. But you need to know that as you build every bottom that it's tried to build today, that it's been sliding half of the bars and going immediately back into shorts. And then once again could not close above half of that bar and made this final low here. And the trick is that you've got to have more higher numbers at 5 or higher in the bottoming process. You can't have zeros. See how it goes right back to 0 and you go lower to the next teeny? That's why we haven't taken an entry yet on going long, because the short is still working. The short is still working. And somewhere along the line, you have to have more closing IR ranges above 5 at bottoming levels. It goes to 5 and 0, but you have to have, let's say 15 minutes of throttling between 8 and 10 off of the bottom, and then going higher. That's when the bottoms will always be put in. Bottoms aren't put in correctly like this. We're still ticking at 0, so we haven't made the bottom, so we haven't taken the entry, but we will. Sooner or later, as it's made above 5, can't stay weak here. This can't stay weak. But eventually, there's another teeny price. So he failed a 36912, slid half the bar below here, below that bar. And when, indexes are coming down. Earlier, when I was telling people before that breakdown of where that short could go, I said 3 teenies below the market. And each teeny on this one today is 11 pennies, so that meant 33 pennies. So therefore, as I am showing the bottom here, all right, we got to take out that high. The thing that I talked about was specifically, as I said, you had to get north of 5, but the numbers had to mathematically go higher to take out half of that bar. That's why we got everybody getting in right here at the bottom. And you can even ask Phil. He's here watching it, right, sir? And so is David. And so is other people, and the MMTs are along right now. I got guys. Now, in order, when you put in the bottom and you got that entry, finally got made and it started going your way. But you got to remember one thing. You got to stay above 10 now. That's the first pass of the first part. But as long as we close above half of this bar, let's go find out where half of the bar is. Okay, so basically, let's make sure, here's half of that bar. Yep, 33 pennies, Ken Flag. And if I consolidate on a closing bar above it, like we've always take you to the higher teeny print. You brought that teeny print down on the short. I said 3 teenies below the market up here, and you were all here witnessing that. And it's also on this video. I got to go north of 20 in order to break above these highs here. This now must work north of 20 to 25 at price action. Now, let us not forget that the trend ratio, the bid and ask trend ratio, when that number goes that way, that confirms your price movement. And it will also confirm that this is your new support level. You want closing bar above half of that bar at 146.47. MMTs. This is how you put in that bottom. Now remember, that IR, if it falls toward 10, you will come down to the teeny support. You have to learn when a bottom is going to get put in is where to add more shares. It's not necessarily, now that we're putting in that the price action of half of that bar, we took out half of this bar on that bar. Now we want to set up this teeny action. The thing about it is, if we stayed north of 10 and we're not going below that, then that tells me that I can buy more shares and start adding to my position at the bottom, not just stopping out within the teeny lines in the case like this. Because this longer that this happens here at price action, the firmer that price